What is going on, guys? Noah Brewer here, and today I'm going to be doing a case study on one of the stores or one of our agency clients that recently passed 10K per day. Now, one thing I want to say is I was actually not the one actually managing the ads. Of course, it was one of my ad buyer, Nick, who does really great work, and I'm really happy that he hit this mark so early. But I am going to be bringing him in for this video just to ask him some questions while I explain exactly what we did. And I'm also going to be basically just explaining, what we did to get to this point. How long were we testing before? What are the profits? All that kind of stuff. And I'm also going to be covering the ad strategy that was used to get to this point.
Hey guys, this is Minrige. I just want to give a quick shout out to Nick and Noah from Primatus. They've been a huge help to me at my store. And they've helped scale it now to 10K a day, literally really quick. It's at almost 8K right now. It's like 7 p.m. They've been a huge part in helping me scale to this point, and I'm letting them make this case study. I hope it helps you, and you can definitely get some value from it. So peace. Enjoy, guys.
So I have Nick here right now. If you're a current client and he's your ad buyer, then say hello in the comments. But I want to run us through basically the results to date of this current store. It's only been running for this winter has been running for about 2.5 months. So not very long, but he has been a client for 4 months now?
Yeah, about 4 months.
Probably about 4 months, which we'll get into that a little bit later on. But for now, the current situation is the total ad spend, which was yesterday, was $59,680. The total sales, as you can see on the screen, are about $220,000. The current daily sales are kind of fluctuating between 9 and 12K, which I'll get into towards the end of this video on why we're having trouble scaling right now any higher than this. It's kind of sad news for anybody that is trying to scale a store. Some new policy that Facebook is putting out there that definitely affected this store at least a little bit. His gross margin, so this is his total sales versus product cost is about 58%. I think the product costs like $70 and we sell it for like $160. So it's right around that range. So I estimated the net profit on this to be probably between 50 and 55K once you consider the refunds that have yet to come in, transaction fees, which are usually like 3 to 4% of the total sales, all of his ad spend, which, by the way, this ad spend figure is including all the testing that was done before finding this winner. This is basically including everything during his time as a client. We'll get into basically the initial testing, like what happened when he first became a client, how long it took him to find this winner. So basically it was kind of a long time, 2.5 months of just product testing without finding a winner. He actually found, 2 products that kind of did okay.
Yeah, did a couple grand in sales each.
Yeah, just like a couple grand, 2 ROAS, nothing special. And there were some weird things that happened on the store that, ended up killing those products. But all in all, he tested about 16 products. And of course, he made sales during the testing phase. It wasn't like 2.5 months with no sales at all. So I made sure to make note of during the testing phase, during that 2.5 months, he spent $2,100 to make about 3K in sales. So obviously less than break even. He probably lost money on that. And then once you include the agency fee, he was definitely trucking probably at like $3,000 loss at this point. So he's 2.5 months in, $3,500 loss. Like once you include the agency fee and the money he lost on ad spend, which he made a little bit back, but not all of it. So at this point, we're just kind of like, okay, like it's almost time to pop a winner. Like it's been a while. He's kind of trucking it. He's holding his breath. But sometimes I think that this case study is really good because it goes to show even if you've tested 16 products without a winner, you can still pop an absolute banger. There's nothing really stopping it. It's just a matter of time. And I think that for some people, it might be a winner in their first 5 products tested, and for others, it might be a winner in their first 50. I've seen people that have gone that long without finding a winner. In this situation, 16, it's kind of tedious, especially when you're paying an agency. I get how that goes. but he definitely stuck with it, and he got what he deserved at the end. All right, so now getting into when the actual product was tested that is doing 10K per day now. So I'll just basically bunch this up into like the first 18 days of the product actually being ran. And during these first 18 days, it was really, really slow. There was only about $250 spent to get back about like $1,100, $1,200 in sales. During these first 18 days was literally just like turning off bad ad sets and creating new ones. And Nick was telling me that in these first couple weeks, there was a lot of new ad sets that were just doing absolutely trash, but the original ones weren't really working that well. I do want to say it's definitely not normal for us to go 18 days like without doing a relaunch campaign. Like if you look at my other strategies, usually we make another campaign or something in the first week. So if you want to explain a little bit about why you went 18 days with just one campaign.
Yeah, so it was a higher ticket product, obviously, and we still stuck with $5 ad sets. And so it was a little slower, and when we started killing ad sets and adding new ones every day, it kind of died a little bit. Like all the new ad sets weren't picking up, and the originals were the only ones popping sales, but overall we were still really profitable. And so we kind of just kept letting it run and letting it collect data. And then eventually, once we hit 20 sales, we do a relaunch campaign. And it wasn't going to hit 20 sales. And the relaunch probably wasn't going to do well either. And so then we took what we had, the data and the ad sets that were popping sales, and put all of those into a $35 CBO.
After 18 days?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it just goes to show, like, a lot of people ask me, if you do a product that's $100, do you want to do higher than $5 per day budgets? And, my answer to that is, like, yes and no. So, like, with the agency, we kind of work based on a fixed budget for testing products, about $70. That's what we tell people. So no matter the product price, I know that you can find a $160 winner with a $5 a day ad set. But, in this situation, if you do find a winner like that, it is going to be really slow in the beginning. But you can still see $250 spent to make back almost $1,200. That is a 5 ROAS, isn't it?
Almost.
So like right out the gate, it was a 4 to 5 ROAS. Super profitable, like 58% gross margin. But if you do smaller budgets, like it's kind of a trade-off. Like when you do find a winner, if it's high ticket, it's going to be a lot slower for getting the sales and getting the data that you need. But when you're in the testing stages, you spend a lot less money, right? If you tested every single product with $20 budgets, I'm sure he would have lost a lot more than just $3,000 in that initial testing phase. So like he just said, after those initial 10 days, basically we did the first CBO, which was...
So the first CBO was just a $35 CBO with 7 ad sets, and it was the top 7 ad sets from the original campaign that we had going. And then inside CBOs, we don't touch anything or add any ad sets, so we just let that run. But that didn't work too well, so what I decided to do is make a $100 a day CBO with 10 ad sets in it, and that was the top 10 ad sets from the previous campaigns. And that one included the original creative and 1 new creative.
Okay. Yeah, and like from my understanding, with my methods, we do the top 5. Or with the method that I share, like we work on a lot of methods behind the scenes, like with the agency, just because Facebook's always changing, and I don't always come out publicly with these methods because we don't necessarily know how good they work. Like it's called testing for a reason. We're testing different methods, and this is definitely a different method that we are testing. So I will say that it's not like a proven method. It's proven once, but it's not proven multiple times. But I'm still sharing it. But from my understanding, what I would do is take a top 5, start it at 100 per day, and then duplicate it and make it 200. Like once that does good, and that's kind of how I would scale and progress. Is I would just double the budget, and I would leave everything the same. But from what I understand, with the method that you implemented with this store, you were also doubling the budget, but also you were doubling the ad sets as well. Mm-hmm. So like it wasn't just like duplicating and double, but you were also doubling the ad sets. So you kind of maintained a $10 per ad set average. So if it was a $50 per day CBO, you would start it with 5 ad sets. And then when you went to duplicate that into a 100 per day CBO, you made it 10 ad sets. And then, a 200 CBO had 20 ad sets and so on, which, I mean, I didn't even know that he was doing this at the time. I don't know where you learned the method or where it really came from. If you want to shout the person out who taught it to you, you can.
Duncan. Shout out Duncan.
Oh, the manager?
Yep.
I wonder where he got it. But it's pretty interesting. Like, it's cool seeing it work, obviously. Like, if I heard this method, I would think, like, oh, maybe there's a chance that it'll do good, it's worth a shot. But this has worked, like, insanely well. Like, we have CBOs that have maintained, like, a 5 ROAS for weeks, which usually with my methods, that's normal, but not on every single one. It's just kind of like here and there. Whereas with this one, it's like every single campaign that has been made has just been steady, consistent since he made them, which is pretty lit. So as you know, like once you find a method that works, all that it is just repeating that method over and over until you can't anymore. So obviously the method that we were using was 5 ad sets, $50 per day, so just keeping that $10 average. And then going into scaling that, like how do you hit bigger numbers? You just double it and you double the ad sets as well. So like I said, it's a new method, but it was working pretty good. And you would usually leave it running for like 4 to 5 days. So you would start the $50 per day CBO, let it run for like 5 days. If it's doing good, then you would duplicate it and double it to 100. And basically we just rinse and repeated that. So obviously the most important part of any scaling method is actually scaling. Like eventually you want to get out of the testing phase and go into the scaling phase where you're actually doing more of what's working. So you were able to go from, how many 50 per days did you start with? Like you think 3?
Well, we started with 1, and then it was just every time an ad set hit 5+ sales, we duplicate it to a 50. So probably within the first 2 weeks of running CBOs, we had 2 to 3 $50 CBOs running.
Yeah, and then eventually, probably after a few weeks, you worked your way up to having 2 CBOs at 400 a day.
Yeah,
right?
So right now those are still running, but we took the $50 CBO, duplicated it to 100, then duplicated that to a 200, and then eventually we duplicated that to a 400. And that's still duplicating all the ad sets, so that's 40 ad sets in that $400 CBO.
Yeah, which caused us an issue recently that we'll get into in a minute. So right now, by this time, we just covered basically how we scaled it to the point that it's at. Pretty simple. If you don't understand, obviously leave a comment and probably Duncan or Nick can go in there and answer some questions afterwards. But right around this time was right when BFCM came, and I remember getting on a call with all the ad buyers and we came up with this plan for launching retargeting campaigns for BFCM clients that had winners. And basically what it was is 3 separate retargeting campaigns. One of them each of them had 9 ad sets in them, so it was all the video view audiences, and then the page view, the add to cart, and the initiate checkout audiences. So every single campaign was the same audience, but different time frames. So we would have one campaign that had page view 180, and then another campaign had the page view 30, and the other campaign had the page view 7. This is just like it's a little bit more advanced retargeting stuff, but basically retargeting 7 would mean it's an audience of people that have viewed your website in the last 7 days. So, we tried a bigger audience, a 30-day audience, which is kind of still big, but it's more recent, and then a 7-day audience, which is super duper recent. And he made those on Thursday, which from what I've found, they did pretty good. I think they had like a 4 to 5 ROAS. But, Friday came along and I was reviewing all of our clients' results and I'm like, damn, this is pretty slow. Because Black Friday, they only spent like $2 per ad set, like by mid-Black Friday. So I decided to tell everybody to duplicate their best retargeting campaign and change the budgets to $20 per day, just so we can like accelerate the spending. And from what I could see in the ad account, like that was the best campaign that I think you've ever ran with this ad account. Like I think it had like
It still is the best campaign.
It has a 7 ROAS, right? It's like 6.9. So way higher budgets. And this is pretty much right around the point where you hit 10K a day, right?
Yeah. Black Friday we started hitting 10K
Yeah,
days.
Black Friday was the first 10K day. So that was like right around the time when you made that first $20 retargeting ad set. And you didn't do any retargeting up to this point, did you?
No. We tried one in the very beginning, and it was just video views, but it didn't do too well, so we just turned it off.
Yeah, which I mean, it's kind of a common occurrence, like on a lot of my big scales, is just we don't get to retargeting. Just kind of a flaw. Like, we should definitely get to retargeting sooner, because it's like, most of the time it's easy money. Sometimes you test it and it doesn't work, but it's still easy money. But there's no better time to start it than Black Friday, right?
So on Saturday, we took the results that we had from the day before, and I took the top retargeting audience, which was the video view 75%, 30 days, and I put that into a $50 CBO with 5 ad sets. And then I also took the top 5 retargeting ad sets and put those into a $50 CBO.
How did those do?
They're still doing well. They're at like a 4 ROAS, but they were slow at first, but they definitely started to pick up, and they're just running now.
Yep. And if you saw my Maximize BFCM video, I'll put the thumbnail right here so you can go back and watch it, or Maximize Q4 is what it was called. One of the things that I preached and I made sure everybody on my team understood was do not kill BFCM ads, because when I very first started, the first store that I took to 6 figures was actually using a holiday sale advertisement, and I wanted to turn it off and switch it, and my mentor told me no, just leave it, and we ended up running that ad all the way until June, I believe. Like, so we were running a holiday sale ad in June, so we made sure, like, if you have a BFCM ad, don't turn that shit off, just let it run, because as long as it's profitable, like over the last 14 days, just leave it on, because, you know, who knows, so maybe the people that see the ad are just thinking to themselves, like, oh, maybe these guys forgot to turn off their ads, and now I'm going to be able to get a good deal because somebody at this company made a mistake. That's kind of my suspicion as to why holiday sale and BFCM ads continue to work after BFCM, because they're just good ads.
Yeah.
They just work. So why shut them off? Just let them ride. So what I was talking about earlier with the new Facebook policy, I'll get into right now. This is kind of our current situation and where we're at with the store. I've kind of stepped in because shit just hit the fan. Like one day, all the campaigns stopped spending entirely. Tuesday came, ads completely stopped spending, which was not fun. We had to figure out why. And Facebook is actually launching this new policy that basically says that you can only have 250 ads running per page.
Per page.
So per Facebook page, you can only have 250 ads running. Now, I was confused as hell. It was a huge roller coaster of just like up and down, like what does this mean? You know, we were split testing like, okay, if we delete an ad post, does that fix it? No, it didn't. But if we turn off an ad set, it fixed it. So I'm not going to get too into it. I'll probably make a separate video about this. But essentially, you can only have 250 active ads on an ad account from a single page, and we had 398 at this time. If you remember, every time we duplicated a CBO, we also duplicated the ads.
Yep.
So it was a shit ton of ads, like ad sets and ads, and some of the ad sets even had 2 ads under each one. So it was a huge shit show, and we basically had to turn off 150 ads. I think it was like 148 of them for the ads to start spending again. The good news is we turned off the worst campaigns and some of the worst ad sets. So obviously we got rid of the worst first, and then sadly we had to get rid of a couple that were doing really, really good, but they were still worse than the other ones. So, you know, it was a hard day. I had to turn off a campaign that with a 5 ROAS, and it felt like I was committing a crime. Like it was against my religion. It's against my religion to do that. So it definitely hurt me inside. And Facebook, if you're watching this, you should not release this. Like, leave it with us. Like, don't push out this policy. It's so dumb. But good news is, after we turned all those campaigns and ad sets and ads off, we're still doing 10K a day. Like, it's hovering between 9 and 12K. Do you know how much yesterday ended at?
Over 10.
Over 10?
10.3.
Yeah, so we were able to turn off all those campaigns and ads and still end up doing 10K a day. So it didn't affect us that much. But now what we're trying to do is figure out how to actually scale the store. I did like 10.3.
10.3 yesterday.
Yeah.
We're at 4.1 today.
It's slow. Or no, it's only like noon.
Yeah, he'll pick up.
It's only like noon right now. It's not bad.
7.
But yeah, I mean, it doesn't seem to affect us. The only issue is now we can't scale.
Yeah,
like,
we're stuck.
We can't replicate what was already working because obviously the next step was to make an $800 per day CBO with 80 ad sets.
Yep.
Which, obviously we can only have 250 ads running, so we're at our max right now. So right now, our job is just to like test increasing budgets. So we're going to try editing budgets. We're going to try turning off maybe a 50 a day and replacing it with 100 per day. Maybe I'll do an update video down the road on what we end up doing. But obviously we're like in this right now, so we don't really know what to expect or what's next. But yeah, I think this case study was pretty valuable considering that, especially that it took so long for this guy to find a winner, and he trucked through it, and that he was doing $5 a day budgets with a $150 product or $160 product. It's just a lot to take away from this, and maybe you can try out this new method for yourself, and maybe you end up making a ton of money. That's obviously my goal with making these case studies, is just to learn what you guys can do, or maybe you know about this method, something that we don't know that you can provide in the comments below. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you found it valuable, leave a like, subscribe, and comment. I hope to see some like good pieces of advice in the comments if you can. I'm always trying to learn, and so is my team, so it'd help a lot. But yeah, this is Noah Brewer, and I'm out. Peace.
Is your outro song Russian Cream by Key Glock?
Yes.